Part 1. The Birth of an Internet Nightmare. Jeff the Killer was not just another horror character. He was an urban legend born from the depths of the internet. His origins date back to the mid-2000s, when online horror stories, known as creepypastas, were becoming a new form of digital folklore. The story of Jeff tells the tragic transformation of a young boy into a merciless killer. He starts as an ordinary teenager named Jeff, but after a brutal incident involving bullies, his mind snaps. He disfigures himself, his face becoming a permanent, grotesque grin, his skin turning ghostly pale. Then his horrifying final words to his family before murdering them: "Go to sleep." This phrase alone became iconic. Jeff the Killer wasn't just a story, he was a presence, a whisper in the dark corners of the internet, lurking in the minds of those who dared to read about him. Part 2. The explosion of popularity. During the early 2000s and 10s, Jeff the Killer became one of the most recognized horror figures online. His story was widely shared. His image, a pale, grinning face with dark, soulless eyes, was everywhere. YouTube videos analyzed his origins and debated whether his story had any real basis. Fan fiction and comics expanded his lore, adding new layers to his backstory. Video games and animations brought him to life in new, terrifying ways. The legend of Jeff went beyond just a creepypasta. He became a pop culture horror icon, alongside Slender Man and other digital-era monsters. But as his fame grew, something changed. Part 3. The downfall begins. By 2015, Jeff the Killer was no longer the chilling, mysterious figure he once was. Instead of being feared, he became overexposed and predictable. The internet moves fast. New horror figures, such as Siren Head, the Backrooms, and analog horror monsters, started taking over. Jeff's story, once terrifying, now felt repetitive and outdated. Too many variations of Jeff's story diluted its impact. Creepypasta as a genre evolved, focusing more on psychological horror rather than grotesque killers. New horror trends like found footage horror and ARGs made simple, scary stories feel weak in comparison. Jeff the Killer wasn't evolving, and the internet was losing interest. Part 4. The real-world tragedy that changed everything. In 2014, the legend of Jeff took a dark turn, one that blurred the lines between fiction and reality. Two young girls in Wisconsin lured their classmate into the woods and attempted to murder her. Their reason? They claimed they were doing it as an offering to another creepypasta character, Slender Man. While Jeff the Killer was not directly involved in this crime, his name was mentioned alongside other internet horror figures. This incident shocked the world. The idea that a fictional character could inspire real-world violence made parents and media outlets skeptical of internet horror. From that moment on, creepypasta changed. Platforms started cracking down on violent stories. Many stories, including Jeff's, began to be seen as childish rather than terrifying. Part 5. The shift in internet horror. Horror itself was changing. The era of simple jump scares and shock horror was fading. Instead, psychological horror, slow-burn tension, and surreal nightmares became more popular. Movies like Hereditary, The Witch, and Midsommar introduced audiences to deeper, more unsettling fears, rather than just scary killers. Similarly, in the online world, stories like The Backrooms, Mandela Catalog, and Local 58 replaced the old creepypasta icons. These new horror concepts weren't just about a single scary face. They were complex, immersive experiences that felt unsettling even after you stopped reading or watching them. Jeff the Killer, with his predictable structure and limited depth, couldn't keep up. Part 6. Jeff's place in internet history. So does this mean Jeff the Killer is completely gone? Not exactly. Even today, Jeff still has a dedicated fan base. Some artists and writers continue to expand his lore, giving him new, darker origins. There are still fan games, animations, and adaptations being made. However, he is no longer the king of internet horror. His story is considered nostalgic rather than terrifying. New audiences find his design outdated, preferring the unsettling realism of modern horror. Creepypasta itself has evolved, focusing more on interactive experiences and deeper storytelling. Part 7. Could Jeff the Killer return? It's possible that one day someone will reinvent Jeff the Killer, making him terrifying again. But for that to happen, his story must evolve. The idea of a knife-wielding killer with a creepy smile is no longer enough. The horror world demands depth, atmosphere, and psychological tension, something Jeff currently lacks. Until then, Jeff the Killer remains a symbol of a past era of internet horror. A reminder of when creepypastas ruled the web and simple scary stories could keep us awake at night.